hello, and welcome to the Mzansi Football Show. This is your show that talks all things South African football related, from the PSL to the MTNH to the Nedbank Cup, Telkom Cup, you name it. And on top of that, Bafana Bafana and Banyana Banyana, which is what we're going to be doing this week. It's myself, I'm Mutlani, my Twitter handle there at the bottom, and we've got Thabang here on the show to discuss the things that are bothering us this week, the things that are making us happy in South African football. But Thabang, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. And yourself, Mpho? As you see, I'm wearing my Bafana Bafana shirt proudly. This was back in the day from when we the Puma kit from back in the day when we hosted the AFCON. So I'm proudly South African today.
And you can follow him at IamTman27. Thank you very much, T-Man. I am okay. I'm not wearing any Bafana kit. I remember that kit. That kit only lasted for like a year before Puma decided to pull out. But before we get going into the show, please do interact with us on these platforms. We're currently live on Facebook at One World Sports Radio, on Twitter at One World SR, and Instagram. We're not live, but we have a presence. But the most important thing is, please do like, subscribe, and share our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe. That's how we grow. That's how we reach more people, and that's how we become a viable entity at One World Sports Radio. We do have other shows that we're going to bring out as we get into normality. We hear that there's a family meeting happening later on this week, tonight, so we're going to try and be done before then. But that's not going to stop us from talking about Bafana Bafana and the games. But let's start with this weekend, T-Man. We had MTN8. First semi-final was Bloemfontein Celtic and SuperSport United. In the second leg, Celtic went in with an away goal. It was 1-1 at the Masterpieces Moripe Stadium against SuperSport United. Again, I think last week we spoke that SuperSport have it in them, have the firepower to be able to get over and into the final. We saw a bit of an upset on Saturday with Bloemfontein Celtic taking that 1-0 win and effectively going into their second final in the space of 3 months. They made it to the Nedbank Cup final earlier on at the start of the lockdown. But it was an interesting game for me because I looked at Bloemfontein Celtic and I felt that this team is a team that can actually be even a top 4 contender if they actually. The only thing that would hurt them is injuries because of the way in which the fixtures are done right now, and possibly squad depth. But right now, the current 13, 14, 15 players they have at Bloemfontein Celtic, they are running. They have a system that's very strong. Tepo Rukhoto got a Bafana call-up that he couldn't make, but that's obviously because of how well he's played over these games. And they punished SuperSport on a counter. They absorbed a lot of the attacking. SuperSport had about 18 shots, but you know how South African conversion rates are. It was 18 shots on target, 18 shots taken, but it was 3 shots on target, which doesn't necessarily say much, but it just showed that SuperSport did have a little bit more. But this Bloemfontein Celtic team is very dangerous, and they know how to play in cup situations. And that's the one thing that I was happy about, is that I could see a Celtic team that's structured well and they're playing good football. And we need Celtics playing good football.
No, 100%. Celtic is one of the most improved sides at the moment in the PSL. As you know, last season they did have some backroom problems. There was some uncertainty about the management team wanting to sell the team. I'm sure you remember Tim Sukazi was a potential bidder for Bloemfontein Celtic, but this team was able to perform despite those news. The team did well in the PSL last season. They really played well together. They played with heart, they played with passion, and which led to them being in the top 8. You remember they had situations where players, their salaries weren't paid, but they still delivered the goods on the field. And it takes that kind of character to do well in the PSL, because it's the PSL is kind of it's a gritty league, and teams like Bloemfontein Celtic, who grind out results, are the teams that do well at the end of the day. You spoke about the way in which they absorb the pressure from SuperSport, which is something that but they went to the game with no pressure on them. As you said, they went to their home game with an away goal, so SuperSport had to come to them. And they had the advantage of absorbing the pressure and then catching SuperSport on the counter attack. I think one thing that's really impressed me with this group at Celtic side was that they're led by a player who used to play for Celtic in John Maduka. He knows the team quite well. He knows the players. He's got a good relationship with the players, and that showed in this game against SuperSport United. I had wrongly predicted it. I said based on SuperSport's firepower that they would take it, but the underdogs showed their mettle in this game.
And that's the great thing about South African football is that anybody can beat anyone on their day. There's no hierarchy in saying no. This is the better team. Yes, you've gotten the better teams, and there's 3 and 4 of them. But after that, anybody can take on anyone. And even those 12 teams as well, they can take on that top 4, like we saw with TTM in 2 weeks ago, drawing with Mamelodi Sundowns 1-1, which was a surprise to everyone. But let's move on to the next one, right? Next game was Pirates and Chiefs. That one was disappointing for a lot of Chiefs fans. It was the same old from the first leg. Nothing changed. And a lot of the things that frustrated me watching it as a Chiefs fan was the fact that there's a gap. Structurally, Gavin Hunt has got this all wrong. He doesn't have the wingers to play the type of formation he wants to play, the 4-3-3. He doesn't have that. And so Kama Billiat is wasted on the byline. He needs to come inside. There's a gap. Nobody wants to play the ball through the middle as a Kaizer Chiefs attack. They want to take it out wide and try to cross it in. And Castro is not a presence. There's no Nurkovic. He's not there. And Castro felt very isolated at times in that game because of the way in which Kaizer Chiefs' midfield was sitting quite deep. On top of that, they got caught on the counter because they were chasing the game from the start. They started very poorly, I must say, for Kaizer Chiefs. And Orlando Pirates just sat. They waited for their moment. And that Pirates counterattack is one thing that this league is going to have to take notice of. The fact that they can move the ball from their own 18-yard area to the other team's 18-yard area in the space of about under 5 or 6 seconds. Is ridiculous, and it like even in the game it wasn't Juga Manje, it was Dion Hotto this time who just kept on going, and he was the instigator in both the goals that Orlando Pirates scored. And for me, the team, and I think I just look at Pirates and I'm gonna try to look on the calendar to find out when they're playing Sundowns, because for me, it looks like, yes, they're going to get the MTN 8 as their trophy because of the way they're playing. I think they're playing the best football in the country. The 3 wise men can come and fight me on this. But you said it already on the show. You said it early on. And these guys are running. They look better on defense. Their midfield looks stronger. And wide play and their forward play is second to none. They're taking chances. They look like an organized team that wants to win it. And when teams are champions, they have this air about them of it's a confidence. We do things right, we do them properly, and that's what I get from this Pirates team. It's on the other side, it's a mental problem. Kaizer Chiefs look a shadow of themselves, of the team that came second last year. And that's the most important thing that Kaizer Chiefs fans are frustrated by, is that this team came second last year, and right now it looks like they'd even make the top 8.
100%. Let me start with Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs is a team which is very, very low on confidence. Well, confidence is everything. It's all in the mind sometimes. Kaizer Chiefs need to remember that they're the team that came second in the PSL last season. Gavin Hunt needs to realize that those players are still there. The foundation of that team is still there, but he's got a blend of youngsters which he can use and to complement that strong core that he had from last season. But unfortunately, what happened with Kaizer Chiefs was that they had a horrible run in last 7 games in the PSL last season, which them losing the league on the last day did not give the team any favors. It's a team that's low on confidence. They have not scored a goal in open play in all games that they've played.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that. And it was an own goal.
Barring the own goal, which was scored in the game against Chipo United. So this is a team that is seriously low on confidence. It's low on creativity. And things are really, really not going well for Kaizer Chiefs at the moment.
And before you move on to Pirates, that Matoa red card was the worst, and it showed it was a team low on confidence. Matoa effectively said, I don't want to be a part of this. Because he knew he was already on a yellow card. Just go let them score. You're already losing 2-0. There's no need for you to be able to hold people down. And it just felt like he just threw in the towel and said, I can't do this, which is very bad for a centre back who is a Bafana Bafana centre back.
But as you said, yeah, there's a lot of talented players in the Kaizer Chiefs team, and it's unfortunate that Matoho was given a red card in the manner that he was given. There is a glimmer of hope for Kaizer Chiefs. As you would have seen that Mzansi came off the bench, and he had a couple of good touches. He started creating a bit of opportunity for Kaizer Chiefs. Mzansi has always been a player who Kaizer Chiefs fans have always looked to him, and unfortunately he hasn't lived up to his potential, particularly due to the former coaches who weren't fans of creative players. But this is Mzansi's chance. It's a chance for him to come back. I don't think it's all doom and gloom for Kaizer Chiefs fans. Same Nikovic is coming back. Gogo Tapiano is a very, very exceptionally talented player. Add the creativity of Kamabiliat, add the creativity of Mzansi, add the creativity of the youngsters Blom and Ngobo, and then complement that with Nurkovic up front, and I'm telling you, the Kaizer Chiefs can come back. But I think that Gavin Hunt really needs to, and I think nothing wrong against Gavin Hunt, but he really needs to, in some of his press conferences after the game, he really needs to, if he is as down as he is, imagine, because his players also watch those post-match interviews. If he comes there in a negative manner, saying that he doesn't have the pieces to win the league, and he doesn't have players at his disposal, it doesn't bode well for the dressing room.
No, it doesn't.
You said it 1,000 times before. This is the team that came second in the league. This is the team that at one stage last season they were leading by 13 points. I think the guys need to just. I think we need to bring sports psychologists into South African football because
Kaizer Chiefs has the money to do that, and now they're playing a team in Cameroon in that CAF Champions League, and we know what's going to happen. But we'll talk about that next week. T-Man, a touch on Pirates here, because let's not talk about Kaizer Chiefs. Yes, they're the big newsmakers and whatever it is, but this Pirates team is unbelievable.
Paul, I told you at the beginning of the season, Paul, that these guys opened up the checkbook and they signed smartly. They got players like Zuka Manja, very creative player from Witwatersrand. They got Dion Hotto, incredible pace, amazing winger. They got Thabang Monare, central midfielder, very creative. He's your no-nonsense midfielder, a box-to-box midfielder, very, very talented. And then they also strengthened up at the back and forth. With Tulane Hlatshwayo, they literally got the best defender in South Africa on a free transfer. And then they also got Richard Ofori, the goalkeeper from Maritzburg United. So Orlando Pirates signed effectively. Unlike Sundowns, who signed 14, 15 players, Orlando Pirates signed 6, 7 players, and they strengthened in positions where they need to strengthen. And this is a team that the top goal scorer from last season is not playing at the moment.
Temminkosi Lodge is not playing. He didn't play on Saturday, and they still did well.
Missed the late fitness test for this game. He really wanted to play, but unfortunately could not play. Imagine if the likes of Lodge and Gabadino Mhango were also playing. It would have been
all I'm saying is that match they're going to play with Sundowns is probably going to be a revenge match for the Pirates fans. Remember that 6-0? Pirates fans, if you're a Pirates fan right now, remember that 6-0? This could be the time where you will avenge that 6-0 this season. But Pirates just are something else right now.
But it's crazy to think that Kaizer Chiefs lost 5-0 on aggregate. Things are down at the moment. And
that gets a coach fired. That should get a coach fired. If this was Ernst Middendorp, he'd be fired. But because we're starting with Gavin and we're giving him a chance, and also because if the transfer window was open and this result happened, I think Kaizer would have had a lot to ponder around in the coaching department there. But I think ultimately, the message from Kaizer Chiefs is wait and see, give him time. We in an unprecedented era of not being able to sign players, so let's see the season through. They're playing okay-ish in the league. The only issue is that they can't score. They really can't score goals. And the fact that I think Castro has probably gone over the hill now. I don't know, but Castro looks a shadow of his CBD self. But yeah,
that's another thing. You've got CBD, you've got except D, you've got C and B except D, and then
you've got
who's your D?
CBN, you've got NBC.
Exactly.
Oh, it's NBC, Nurkovic,
NBC, 100%.
but
You've got
nothing's happening.
NBC, you've got NBC, you've got Lebogang Manyama. Kaizer Chiefs cannot complain and say that they don't have the players at their disposal. They've got the players. It's just I think it's a psychological thing at the moment.
Yeah, that's an important one. Team, and let's move off of that because it's International Week. People don't want to be talking about Chiefs and Pirates or even everything else. We'll talk about the MTN8 final next week. I see you with that Bafana shirt. It's the hope that kills you. But let's talk about a team that who you can put your hope in and it won't kill you, and that is Banyana Banyana. This past week, Thabang, they've been playing in the COSAFA Women's Championship, trying to make it 4 out of 4 of the past 4 matches. They've played some incredible football. They haven't played a lot of football throughout the year because of COVID, and so to have their opponents. And then a lot of the players who are playing for Banyana are not the guys who played last year, essentially, and also at the World Cup. But you've got a couple of players like Holweni Mtandi, Mamelo Makabani, as well as the 2 goalkeepers, Swat and Udlamini there. But you also see some of the youngsters coming through. Well, not necessarily youngsters, guys who are on the fringes. Robin Mudley from JVW, and also Gabriela Salgado. And then you've also got some other youngsters in Mapule Khwale and Hilda Mukhaila, who have done quite well this tournament. They've beaten. I've watched their game against Angola. They won 2-0. Our goalkeeper had an easy day. There were tweets going around saying that you can go to the Spaza, go buy a quarter, come back, get a newspaper, Likam chair, Homonati. And then it started getting a little bit harder. They played Eswatini. They beat Eswatini 5-0. They played the Comores. They beat the Comores last year 17-0. This year it wasn't that much. They beat them 7-0. Now they're playing probably the best, the other great team in this tournament. That is Malawi. Malawi is going to be very, very tough to beat. They got the Chavinga sisters, Temwa and Tabitha. Tabitha's already scored 6 goals this tournament. They are just letting everybody know they're here to play. They play tomorrow at 3:30. But I've been impressed by them. I love the fact that Desiree Ellis has kind of brought in a new generation, even though the current generation is still there. And to some extent, if you look at how Bafana used to, when you could put in pretty much 2 11s of Bafana that were very competitive, that was when Bafana was on point. And now, not to compare them to the ladies, to them, just using an anecdote, I think right now we're on to something here. And they play tomorrow in the semi-final. They play again on Saturday. But I was just very impressed by, especially Holweni. She scored 5 goals. She's the top goal scorer in the tournament. She scored 5 goals against the Comores. Only one on the left-hand side. But, it was great, team, and to see Banyana do well, because they're the team. They're the pride of the nation, actually. Across all sports, even I think they will take the Springboks as the pride of the nation, I think.
100%. I've really enjoyed watching Banyana throughout this tournament. I think they've got a great system in place. And as you mentioned, Desiree Ellis has only opted to use locally based players for this game, which means all the international players are not playing. And it gives a chance for the players who haven't gotten a chance to play either internationally. Some players are playing internationally for the first time, or some players are coming from the youth teams and coming to play for Banyana for the first time ever. And I think that's absolutely brilliant, and I think this is a system that Bafana should be using, whereby, as you mentioned, that when you have tournaments like COSAFA, you shouldn't be bringing the likes of Percy Dow to come here.
See, man, we've tried this before, Thabang. We've tried this before. Opola Boba Bine Plus.
And it worked, Mpo. It worked. With Abu Mabine Plus, that's where you found gems who have gone on to the like of Roy Mahamuta. The guys who went from Mabine Plus, who went from the first division and managed to get contracts in the PSL.
Yes.
But I think it's a great system for where you use these kind of local tournaments, local continental tournaments to give the players chances who wouldn't normally get chances in for. And it's such a great opportunity to get if players who do well can actually cement themselves into the team and actually be a part of the team going forward. And for.
And it's also a scouting network for some of our locally based players. Holweni, Amanda Mtandi was at the World Cup as well. Holweni was at the World Cup as well. Mudali is good enough to be playing in Europe. So is Gabriela Salgado. Even the centre back, I think her name is Caitlin Jordan. She's been great. Not a lot of attacks, but that's the type of stuff you want. You want to get the ladies as much exposure as possible. And Desiree Ellis has done a great job.
100%. And I think what's important to note in this tournament, is we've scored 40 goals and we haven't conceded a single goal. And as you mentioned, we're also playing the another hot team in the tournament in Malawi. The Chawinga sisters have done exceptionally well. And Desiree Ellis in an interview on just after the game on this weekend, she mentioned that although we beat the Comoros 7-0, there were a lot of opportunities where the players didn't actually score goals. There were tons of opportunities, but we didn't convert them. And I think in a game against Malawi, I think our ladies just need to be careful, because in a game against Malawi, with the team, which is now, the ladies have been playing, obviously, they've been playing teams which are below their level over the past few games. But now, for the first time ever, they're going to get an equally matched opponent. And in that kind of scenario, when you do get an opportunity, you've got to be clinical and you've got to take advantage of it. And that's just the only worry that I have with my ladies, with our ladies.
Yes, and I think the one thing with the COSAF is that it's only in the semi-finals where it becomes competitive. And Desiree Ellis did say, Jorge, they had in the group stage they had 14 goals from 24 chances. That needs to increase a little bit more. They need to convert a little bit more, and it worried her, as you said in that press conference. But the other thing about it is at the back, now it's time to switch on. Now it's time for everyone to get in the game. And we can't have periods where there's a lull in the game and you're rusty and your concentration is off. You need to go in and make sure, especially against an opponent like Malawi. On the other semi-final, you've got Botswana and Zambia. Botswana won Group C, but Zambia came second to Malawi in Group B. And also we need to be very careful of the Copper Queens and Botswana as well, because this is where these are the four big nations in COSAFA and women's football, and you can add Namibia here and there. And so you need to, so Banyana need to be very cognizant, especially at the back, because they haven't been tested to do that. Like most of their games, it's a high line that you can literally put your offside line just off the center mark, and you just send the ball back. When you get it back, you send it back, and you apply pressure to your opponents. Now you're gonna have to play slightly deeper, and you're gonna have to switch on. But I'm sure Desiree has the ladies all primed and ready, because I think she's a great coach. I think Desiree is a great student of the game, and she reads situations very well, even with the ability to give people chances and opportunities. When, if you look at her male counterparts, they really struggle to do that, to give youngsters opportunities. But moving on to that, and let's move on to Bafana Bafana, because there's Bafana Bafana's playing. But before we go on to that, let me just give you the fixtures for this weekend for Banyana Banyana. Tomorrow, Banyana Banyana play in the COSAFA Women's Championship semi-finals at 3:30. It's not 3 o'clock, 3:30 against Malawi at the Wolfson Stadium in the Eastern Cape. And then on Saturday, it's the final. The winner of that semi-final will meet the winner of the Botswana versus Zambia game. That is the early kickoff tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It's live on COSAFA website. You can live stream it on there. It's on SuperSport as well, and also on SABC. But now let's move on to Bafana Bafana. Team man, we've got AFCON qualifiers. Here we go. It's the hope that kills you. We're playing Sao Tome and Principe. Before we go into the squad dynamics, Thabang, are we going to be surprised?
But South Africa have a tendency of underestimating or thinking that they can. Let me rather say we've struggled against Islanders in the past. You remember for a couple of seasons ago, where we lost 3-1 to Mauritania away, and when Mauritania came into South Africa, we drew 1-1 against Mauritania.
Yes.
Oh, who is Mauritania? Number one, that's a question that I want to ask you for. And then I'll go back I'll go back 1 or 2 years back when you played against Seychelles. We beat Seychelles. Yes, we beat Seychelles 6-0 at home. Brilliant result. Brilliant result. But then if we can beat Seychelles 6-0 at home, as Bafana Bafana, go win 1-0. Just go get 3 points in the Seychelles. Bafana Bafana struggled to get 3 points against Seychelles.
Remember they were taking photos on the beach before the game.
Yeah.
When they arrived at the Seychelles.
I remember that. So my big worry with Bafana Bafana is that we struggle with the lesser known opponents in Africa, where we aren't able to research, we aren't able to look up on our opponents and Sao Tome and Principe, who are they? They are ranked 182nd on the FIFA rankings as I checked them earlier this afternoon.
211,000 people in Sao Tome and Principe. There are some sections, Kosoweto, that have more people there than they have Sao Tome and Principe. There's no excuse to draw, first of all, and to lose. And to make it even better, T-Man, is that these games, because of COVID, are now being played in South Africa, because Sao Tome and Principe was supposed to play in Cameroon, but because of the uncertain COVID protocols there, the games being played, both games are being played here in South Africa. So there'll be a home game, and I'll put it up right now. So South Africa, add to the stream. South Africa will play their home match on Friday night in Durban and Moses Mabhida, and then the away leg of this tie will be played on Monday at 3 p.m. in Port Elizabeth. So there's no excuse. You're playing essentially at home. It's comfortable here in South Africa. You're not playing in Mauritania, in Sao Tome and Principe. You're not playing in Cameroon, where maybe someone might spike your food or something might happen to the bus on the way to the stadium. This is in South Africa. It's no excuse. There is no excuse whatsoever. But we know with Bafana Bafana, and this is the problem that I have with SAFA, why is the game being played in the coast? Why are the games being played in the coast when we know and we saw against Sudan at home, we struggled to beat them at Moses Mabhida. Oh, no, it wasn't Sudan. It was the last qualifiers. We had a coastal opponent, and we couldn't beat them. We couldn't beat them at Moses Mabhida. I think we drew with them. And that's the type of thing. Altitude is your strength. It's your advantage. Use it. No, we're going to Durban. We're going to PE. And so it's something that suffers that it's hurting us. It's hurting Bafana Bafana, but there's no way you're going to lose to a team whose population is 211,000. I think look at Vosloras where I'm at right now. We've got more than 211,000. We could come up with a team. Yes, maybe our guys don't play lower league score Portugal, but maybe it could be competitive. And not to be disrespectful to the to Sao Tome and Principe, but that's the type of situation that Bafana Bafana find themselves in. And it would be very embarrassing for a team that has guys that play at Rangers, for Club Brugge, for what is it, Al Hilal, guys who play at Cincinnati FC in the MLS. You've got Carlisle United in the third division in England, but he played for SuperSport. For guys who play for the continent's biggest clubs to lose to Sao Tome and Principe. Sudan beat them 4-0, and this is the last point, and Ghana beat them 1-0, and that's an important thing to note. Ghana played in Sao Tome and Principe and could only come out with a 1-goal win there. But we're sitting in second in our AFCON group. These two fixtures get you to 9 points and give you 1 foot into AFCON because 2 teams go through. If we do not come out with 6 points in this game, we're not going to AFCON. I can write it now. You can book it now. You can postmark this thing. That's what's going to happen, T-Man. So what do it's ridiculous. I hope we don't get disappointed.
I've got the same view as yourself. I think this is it's 2 must-win games. Everything is in our favor at the moment. We're playing at home. We Sao Tome have been kind enough to allow both games to be played in South Africa. It's an incredible opportunity for our boys to get 6 points, 6 easy points in Mpho, and go to AFCON in Mpho. I think it doesn't get easier than that. It doesn't get easier than playing
Yeah, well, T-Man, it's six easy points. It's
You're
6
not
easy
playing-
points and then draw to Sudan. Well, don't lose against Sudan. That's all you need to do.
Exactly, Mpo. But Mpo, you know very well, Mpo, this is the Bafana Bafana team, and unfortunately in the past we played teams like Sierra Leone, we played teams like Chad, we've played teams like Niger, we've played teams like so,
And you go there and you are that Mauritania, was it Sierra Leone or Mauritania, where the stadium was on a moat on an island, and
Sierra Leone.
conceded an own goal from Bernard Parker from the top of the box, and you just kind of felt there going, guys, Maka, this team's ranked 150th in the world. Khwetsana.
Bro, I think just in closing, Bro, you mentioned something very very critical a couple of minutes ago. Bro, normally when you travel into Africa, Bro, you have to face the challenges of bad food, of bad hotels, 3-star hotels, and very
Bad travel.
violent fans, bad travel. Bro, here, Bro, we'll be driving in our luxury liners. We'll be in the top hotels in South Africa. But Bafana Bafana simply have no excuse. But we really have to get 6 points. We have
And
to
there's
get the
no
ground down.
fans. There's no fans, so you won't even get some Sao Tome and Principe fans who live in South Africa coming to Moses Mabhida and overpowering the Bafana Bafana supporters in numbers. So you don't have that. Literally, you can go and play easily. It should be easy for Molefe Ntseki. Here's, before we go, T-Man, let's look at the squad. There have been some changes to the squad. Let's discuss that. Here's the squad, the Bafana Bafana squad as of today. There's been a couple of changes to the squad, and I'll take you through those changes. Thabang Mpete is not coming in. Thulani Serrero is not gonna make it. Andile Jali, Reef Rosler, Tamim Keys, and Abubakar Mubara are out due to medical reasons. And then the players in are Musa Libusa, Vincent Pule, Tapelo Morena. It was Tebo Rokoto initially, but now it's Siabonga Dube, Tabo Nodata, and one other change is that Bradley Krobler pulled out of the squad, and Siabonga Sitebe is now into the squad, the man from Amazulu. Looking at the squad, Thabang, what's your starting 11 for Friday, and to a certain extent Monday? What's your starting 11?
Okay, Paul. So I'll have Rodman Williams in goal. The best goalkeeper in South Africa at the moment. Very hardworking. And Paul. I'm sorry. Do you mind just putting up the squad?
Put it up. Put it up. Yeah.
I'll have Thulani Hlatshwayo with Rasheen Derek in the center back pairing.
He's had a great year for Maritzburg.
No, definitely, Paul. I'll have Innocent Mahela on the left wing, on the left back position, and then in terms of right back. Either Musa Libusa or Rasheen Derek can interchange between the right back position between them two. In midfield, I think it's very important to have Tebogo Mokoena in the middle of the park together with Keegan Dolly.
Okay.
And then Luther Singh in an attacking position. Percy Tau also playing in an attacking position there. And then up front, I've got Kermit Erasmus. Let me actually...
No Bongani Zungu for you.
So essentially what I'm saying is that Kermit Erasmus will play as a lone striker up front. Percy Tau supporting as the second striker, and then I'll slot Bongani Zungu in the midfield. So in the midfield, I'll have Tebogo Mokoena, Bongani Zungu, Keegan Dolly, Themba Zwane, Luther Singh, and then I'll have Kermit Erasmus up front with Percy Tau playing as a second striker.
Okay. I think you've named 12 players, so I'll take out for you. Mine was it was Tyson and Madisha at centre back, or Rasheen Derek. It didn't matter for me. I was gonna go with Lal Lakay. He's played well, and I like his attacking intent. And then Innocent Maela, Lal Lakay at right back, Maela at left. Even Tapelo Morena at right back would be very interesting to see. He's very attack minded. Defensively could be a problem, but right now we want goals. We want shots on goal, and we want goals.
You hit the nail on the head there. Tapelo Morena is the right back, and he's very brilliant on the right back.
And then in my midfield, it was a 5-man midfield with Mokoena and Zungu sitting, but Bongani Zungu having the ability to play that 8 role. and piercing into the front, and then it's Zwane, it's Percy Tau, and it's Keegan Dolly as my three behind the striker. And my striker, I was gonna go with Luther Singh. I think largely because of the fact that we don't have. If Bradley Grobler would have been my pick here, because I would have wanted a taller man to be able to header and give that presence. But we're not going to play long ball this time. It's going to be very nice. We're going to take it wide. We're going to pass it in. We're going to move the ball on the floor the way we normally play as South African football, and get Luther Singh into those positions up front as the striker that he is. I think he'll do well. Kermit Erasmus can come in there. Romeo's been on form for Sundowns, so between him, but I just want to give the youngster a chance. It's Satoman Principe. There's no fans. Get him the caps. Give him a squad that he can feel comfortable leading the line with. There are a lot of guys who aren't playing, Lebohang Piri, as well as Lebo Mutiba, who aren't in the squad. And I'd like to see Lebo Mutiba in this squad, because it would have been great to have him there. But yeah, I think that's my 11. I want lots of goals, shots on goal. You can't be playing around with a team like this. Test them. They haven't played international football in a year. They need to be overwhelmed by the quality that we're putting on the field.
No, 100%, Mpho. And I think looking at your squad, Mpho, I agree with it. I agree with it 100%. I think Luther Singh has shown his quality coming up as a youngster from the national under-20 side. He's now playing in Portugal with Braga. He's really done well, and I think this is a great opportunity to field him, Mpho. Your midfield is very, very well suited. I've got no objections with your midfield. I think it matches mine almost an identical match. And I think you, in terms of your centre back pairing, 100% right. I think Thapelo Morena was that missing cog in my team, and I think you are right. Thapelo Morena would be great on the right back position. Lala K or Innocent Mael on the left, Madisha / Rushin Durik, and Tatraya as the captain. I think that would be a brilliant squad.
No, look, I've always been happy. No, that's the thing. That's the thing about Bafana Bafana. These players are there. They are good. They're quality. They can take on anybody in Africa, and they showed that at that AFCON last year. T-Man, remember last year when we were at AFCON, we got to the quarterfinals, and I don't think that was a fluke, because we've got the talent. It's just it's the management. I think the fact that the coaches keep on changing. You need structures. You need structures. Which is interesting, because obviously, and I want to talk to you about this, but T-Man, your final words on Bafana, and then just one more point I'd like to get your thoughts on.
My final words on Bafana Mpho is that one thing I like from both of our squads, Mpho, is that we don't have the likes of nothing against the players. I think we need to continue as Bafana. Let's field the next generation that's going to take us up to a higher level. We still need the core players, the experienced players. We still need them in the squad to guide the youngsters. But I think one thing that I like from both of our squads is that we don't have the Itumeleng Kudes there. We don't have Mokocho. We don't have Tulani Severo. We don't have Dean Furman. I think they can play a great role in the team by uplifting the talent that we
put in, and mentoring the new generation and kind of making sure the transition is smooth.
Making sure the transition is smooth. But the future of Bafana Bafana lies in Percy Tau, it lies in Keegan Dolly, it lies in Bongani Zunga, it lies in Luther Singh, it lies in Lebohang Mutiba once he gets back from his injury.
And Lebo Piri in that midfield.
Exactly. And I think that's where Bafana Bafana really needs to shift the view and play those kind of players. One thing quickly, that I'm just going to spot in over there. There's a couple of youngsters in the EPL who are really on the fringes of the teams. There's
talk about them. Leshabane for Leicester City on the bench in Europa League.
The Europa League. There's a lot of players in the EPL.
And Bradley Cross, who's playing in the under-23 side for Newcastle United. Those guys have been selected to play for the under-23s in Saudi Arabia, along with the three Chiefs youngsters we've been speaking about already in this season, being Sifama, but he's injured. It's Ngobo, it's Blom, and Ngeza. And in the under-23s are playing 2 games against Saudi Arabia this week in preparation for the Olympic Games, because, hey, we're going to the Olympics. And that's the frustrating thing about Bafana Bafana. You can't be going to the Olympics regularly, okay, not necessarily regularly, but once every 2 Olympics, you make it in. But then your national team, once everyone gets to the senior team, it's like those guys never existed. Remember, even Kune was, wait, where was Kune? Did Kune play in Rio, or did he play in England, in London at the Olympics?
He played in Rio.
It was in Rio, yeah. So we've qualified for 2 Olympic Games, but guys, we can't lose to Sao Tome and Principe. The pipeline is there, though, surely. It's there. That's the problem. It's so frustrating. The pipeline is there, but when it gets to Bafana Bafana, it's like we lose our heads.
But I think with Chidali Chazwayo there, with Keegan Dolly there, with Percy Tau is very hungry. He's got the discipline there. He's really disciplined. He's a hungry player. We've got the likes of Keegan Dolly there. I think our new core. I'm liking our new core. These guys are hungry to impress. They really want to do well. They want to go and play in the high leagues in Europe. Their ambitions are quite high. And they know very well that a loss or a draw in this game, we will not forgive them. And it'll really affect them.
If there's a draw anyway in these 2 games, but South Africa must forget. You're gonna have to beat Ghana, and make sure that you actually have to beat Sudan to make sure that you qualify in Sudan. And I don't think we'd be comfortable in doing that. We beat them at home 1-0 at Orlando Stadium last year, but that's gonna be, and we can't make it hard for ourselves. But T-Man, before we go, last word. Patrice Motsepe has been supported by SAFA to become CAF president of CAF, and is running for CAF president. Ahmed, who's a Southern African, a Madagascan, is the current president and incumbent. What are your thoughts on this situation? Do you think it's good that Patrice is running? Do you think that, because we've seen SAFA support some candidates we've never understood why they would support them before, and it kind of felt like it was a poison chalice. Can Patrice become president of CAF, or do they not like South Africans? Because that's what I've always thought. They don't like us, so why bother?
Patrice Motsepe is, as you know, he is in all walks of life, whether it be business, whether it be you name it. Patrice Motsepe is a successful. He's hungry. He strives for excellence in all works, in all areas of life that he's in, or whether it be business through African Rainbow Minerals. He's recently launched African Rainbow Capital. He's invested in Mamelodi Sundowns, and look at the class side that Mamelodi Sundowns.
And he's the shareholder at the Blue Bulls, by the way.
And he's the shareholder now in the Blue Bulls organization, and that shows him. And look where Sundowns was a couple of seasons ago, and look where they are at the moment. Sundowns is highly regarded as one of the best teams in Africa, top 3 teams in Africa. When you talk CAF Champions League, you have to speak about Sundowns. They've won the league 3 times in a row, and it's part of the organizational structure that Patrice Motsepe has instilled into the squad there at Sundowns. So, can Patrice Motsepe be president of CAF? Definitely. He will be, if you can see how he's worked in terms of all works of life, whether it be business, he's even he's represented South Africa. He's through charities and stuff. He was able to bring I forget that concert from last year.
Global Citizen. He was our blesser that time. Our blesser for free.
But you know very well, T-Man doesn't go out a lot. T-Man always watches sports on weekends, so I don't really know a lot about social events. But I do know that he brought the likes of Beyonce and Jay-Z to South Africa in a concert which was.
And he brought Barcelona. We mustn't forget.
Twice. He brought Barcelona twice. Yes. He brought Lionel Messi. He brought Ronaldinho to South Africa. So Patrice Motsepe is an excellent administrator, and I have no objections. He will do exceptionally well at CAF. The only problem, as you mentioned, is he needs the support, and unfortunately, people like Patrice Motsepe, South Africans, have not got the required support that is required up north in Africa. I think it's sometimes you argue, is it nothing against it? Is it merit? Is what happens? What happens in terms of getting elected in Africa? And I'll leave it at that.
Look, all I'm going to say is CAF and FIFA. If I was Patrice, I'd be very careful as to how this goes, but I wish him all the best. I just feel as though the way in which SAFA has handled itself over the past 2 decades when it comes to CAF has left a bitter taste in the mouth of every other people, of all the other nations on the continent. And so, yes, Sundowns is a darling of African football, and he's done well. And Patrice is there. I think that's going to be his hurdle, changing the perceptions to say that Safa is an entity, Patrice is a different entity, and he's the man for it. And yes, he's South African, but he's the right man for the job. And it's also hard to go up against an incumbent. We see Trump not wanting to let go of power. So, guys, we live in 2020. Think crazy, stranger things have happened, but I wish Patrice all the best because, quite frankly, a CAF presidency, a CAF under the presidency of Patrice Motsepe, African football will be flying. It'll be on the map. We'll have similar tournaments like the Nations League. We won't have these random friendlies just being played just because Bafana Bafana need a game. It must mean something. And that's the type of things that I think Patrice will bring. T-Man, as we end the show, let's just remind the viewers of the games that are coming up. You remember we've got you've got the AFCON qualifiers happening on Friday and Monday. Home and away legs here in South Africa versus Sao Tome and Principe. And then next up, also Banyana Banyana, the pride of our nation, playing in the COSAFA Women's Championship tomorrow on Thursday in South Africa versus Malawi at 3:30, and the final on Saturday also at 3:30, not 3 o'clock. Apologies for that. Against the winner of Botswana and Zambia. So do enjoy that. Do support both the national teams. Iman, do you have any final words before we close out the show?
I just have a question for you, Paul. Are you? I know you're such a passionate South African sports fan, Paul, that whenever our teams play, you always get the jersey, Paul. So, Paul, are you going to get the Bafana jersey before our games? I'm expecting that Banyana Banyana are going to win tomorrow. Are you going to get the new kit before our games? If you can find it.
The great thing is that it's not available in stores, but I've got the Nike one ready for me to wear when we go. The one that Ndulula wore at that AFCON in Equatorial Guinea. I got that kit. That kit was great, the collar one. But we'll do that. I all support Bafana Bafana. I'll be watching on, so you can follow us on Twitter as we walk you through the game and tweet all our frustrations, all our happiness. But from myself and Thabang, please remember to interact with us on these platforms. But for myself and Thabang, that's the end of the show, the Mzansi Football Show. Please share it as widely as possible. Like and subscribe on our YouTube channel so you can get notifications of that. Follow us on the different platforms because you also get notifications when we go live. Enjoy the football this week. It's international football. There's not a lot. And we'll be back next week, Wednesday, preparing ourselves for the next round of PSL games in a season that is truncated, that is new normal, that is different in this year of our Lord 2020. So thank you very much for joining us. And le sale kakagiso.